For a little over a year now, I have been art journaling almost every day. And in this video, I am sharing the 5 things I learned through this experience. Before I get into that, I wanted to clarify what art journaling is from my perspective. When you think of traditional journaling, you probably picture writing in a notebook with a pen or a pencil. It can be a good way to process thoughts and emotions or just to keep a record of your life. And while I was journaling regularly, I felt like I was missing something. While writing was helpful, sometimes I felt like I was processing the same things over and over and over again with little results. At the same time, I also started to wonder if I really needed to find the source of every emotion I experienced. I had been aware of art journaling for some time, but never really resonated with the style that I saw others do. So in early 2025, I gave myself full permission to make whatever I wanted and to use art supplies that were fun and easy to work with. For me, art journaling is about processing emotions, thoughts, and experiences with colors, patterns, and textures. While I often layer multiple mediums in abstract designs, such as tempera paint sticks, acrylic paint pens, and gel crayons, you can also incorporate collage and drawing as well if it suits you. And here's the kicker. I focus more on the process than the result. While I like when a page turns out beautiful or interesting in some way, that's not my goal with art journaling. Now, before I get into those 5 things I learned, I wanted to mention that if you find value in this video, I ask that you like the video and subscribe to this channel, because these are the best ways that you can see more videos like this one. And please keep in mind that everything I share here is based on my experience, and these are my opinions. Here are the top 5 things I learned by art journaling almost every day for the past year. First, I have discovered that art journaling is an effective way to express emotions without words. Sometimes it can be hard to speak or write about what you're feeling. And art journaling can be a great tool for moving those feelings out of your body by giving them a place to live. And one technique I love to use for this is stippling. You can see here that I started by drawing some spirals on a fresh page in my sketchbook with a pencil. Then I got out acrylic paint pens with medium bullet tips in several shades of blue. All were Posca markers, and used them to stipple along the line I drew. I have to be honest with you that I wasn't always a big fan of stippling, mostly because I thought you had to use it to create a landscape or a portrait or something. And while you can make something with stippling, it doesn't have to be an abstract design like this. I have found that stippling along a line is less stressful and very effective. There is something about tapping a marker on a piece of paper for 15 to 20 minutes that is so calming. And in my experience, it's a good movement for working out negative emotional states, such as anger, frustration, or overthinking. To add some visual interest to this page, I applied the paint pens from darkest to lightest, and then reversed them so the page finished with the darkest color. Finally, I wanted to mention that just because something works for me doesn't mean I can guarantee results for everyone. So when it comes to art journaling, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is permission to try different techniques and see how they work for you. Notice which art supplies and techniques you gravitate toward when you feel angry or frustrated, and then see what provides the most relief for you. I have been thinking about making a video about my favorite art supplies to use in my art journal. If that's something you would be interested in, please let me know in the comments and I will get that prioritized. This page took me about 15 minutes to make, and the whole process was rather soothing. Second, I have learned that art journaling is so calming. Working even with some basic art supplies can slow you down and bring you back to the present moment. For me, the best calming art journaling techniques always seem to involve repetitive motions. And here is one of my favorites. To start, I taped off 2 sides of the paper so there would be clean lines on the edges, and then used an aqua green acrylic paint pen with a medium bullet tip to draw neurographic lines. One way that I have learned to tap into a more authentic neurographic line is to lift my elbow off of my work surface and control the pen more from my shoulder than with my hand. When the paint was dry, I used a pencil to add some circles with the help of a stencil, and then traced over the circles with the paint pen. Next, I came in with another aqua green paint pen, this one with an extra fine pin tip, and used it to round out all the places where 2 lines intersected. I also used this pen to draw little curved lines in each of the cells that were formed by the intersecting lines. When I use this technique on a full page, I typically tape off all 4 sides of the paper and trace the medium bullet-tipped marker along the edge of the tape to form a border. However, making a full page is more time-consuming. So if you want a shorter art journaling session, you can create a smaller work surface like I have here. If you could use some more recommendations for quick and easy art journaling ideas, I recommend this video with tips for 5-minute art journaling. I also linked it in the description. I believe that art journaling is so effective because you cannot do other things while you are making something. It forces you to be present and process your emotions, and that processing allows them to be released. I mentioned earlier that I used to use traditional journaling to try to understand what was causing a particular emotion. But more and more, I am noticing that not every feeling I experience needs to have an origin. Sometimes they just need to be acknowledged so they can be released. To finish off this page, I put a hairdryer on high heat for about a minute to ensure the paint was dry and to loosen the adhesive on the tape. Every time I look at this page, I am reminded of how calming it was to make it. Third, I have noticed that art journaling is a way to track your personal growth. Over time, you can look through the art you have made and see how your creativity and expression has evolved. It took me until last fall to really embrace using a sketchbook to contain my art journaling. Up until that point, I was mostly using loose pieces of watercolor paper because it's the best paper for most of the art supplies I love working with. However, one of the downsides of loose pages is that I had no idea when I made each of the pieces. So I couldn't really track anything. And as the art journaling pages piled up, I was having a hard time storing them. At first, I put them in a basket, but eventually that overflowed and I had art spilling out of my cupboard. By September, a little over 6 months into art journaling, I had to face the problem. So for the month of October, I did all of my art journaling in a wire-bound sketchbook and discovered that the paper in it worked just fine for the casual art I was making. Even better, I saw that I was creating a visual record of my life. As I flip through these sketchbooks now, I hope you can see that my skills and ideas have improved. I certainly can see a refinement. Now that doesn't mean every page is amazing, but there are some pages that really stand out as exceptional to me. But if we only look at the external growth, we would be missing out on the other half. Internally, I have noticed that my tendency to overthink has reduced greatly. On top of that, I have found that my capacity to process emotions has improved significantly, and my tendencies to overthink and ruminate have decreased as well. You probably don't know that I am ridiculously good at making plans, and backup plans for the backup plans. But it's also exhausting. I believe that art journaling has helped me improve all of this because it has given me a place to work out my emotions proactively, which means I am less reactive. Thus, art journaling can be a meaningful way to reflect on how far you have come and how much you have experienced by seeing your personal growth. Fourth, I have found that art journaling improves skills and increases creativity. When I started art journaling regularly last year, I definitely considered myself creative, but was lacking inspiration and wondering if I had hit peak creativity. To begin this page, I taped off a border with painter's tape, as I often do before I start art journaling. Then I made a dot in the center of the page with a tempera paint stick and drew concentric circles around it. I checked my sketchbooks, and I have made a page like this 9 times in the past 6 months. So why do I keep returning to the same page so many times? One of the big reasons is that it improves my skills. When I look at the first few things I made with tempera paint sticks, they are pretty embarrassing. And I made a lot of mistakes with them too, which I discuss in the video linked here and in the description. Next, I got out black and white acrylic paint pens with medium bullet tips to add doodles on top of the paint sticks. Also, I ensured the paint sticks were fully dry by turning on a hairdryer on high for about a minute and checking that the paint had no tackiness to it. The other big reason that I keep returning to this page is that it pushes me creatively. My experience has shown me that creativity is like a muscle. It needs to be challenged regularly to become stronger. And honestly, none of the pages that I have created like this look the same. I have used different color palettes and doodles to create a unique page every time. Before I peeled off the tape, I put a hairdryer on the page again to make sure the acrylic paint was dry and to loosen the adhesive on the tape. I continue to be amazed at how my skills continue to improve and my creative capacity continues to expand with simple pages like this one. And finally, I have discovered that art journaling is so much fun. You don't have to be good at art to experience how fun art journaling can be. Here, I started one of my favorite art journaling techniques by taping off a border with painter's tape, and then getting out acrylic paint pens in silver, navy blue, gold, English green, and bronze. All were Posca markers and had medium bullet tips. And I used those paint pens to draw spirals of varying sizes across the page. I do not know why this technique is so much fun for me, but it is. Similar to this page, most of what I share on this channel doesn't take a lot of skill. And that's on purpose because I want art journaling to be something anyone can do. If you are new to art journaling, I recommend you watch this video because it contains the best art supplies to get started. It's linked here and in the description. Now, I share a lot about the emotional benefits of art journaling, but all of that is usually focused on more negative emotions. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the positive emotional benefits as well. I heard a stat on the radio recently that on average, children laugh between 300 and 500 times a day, and adults average between 6 and 15. I looked online for something that would substantiate this claim and couldn't really find anything that looked legit. However, I don't think we need scientific research to recognize that there is some truth to this claim. If you have spent any amount of time around kids, it's easy to see that they laugh, play, and have more fun than adults. Now, of course, I'm not advocating for you to be immature or act like a child all the time, but I have found that playing with art supplies and experimenting with colors and textures and patterns is a way that I can tap into the fun, play, and joy of being a kid for a few minutes every day. To finish this page, I turned a hairdryer on high heat for about a minute to ensure the acrylic paint was fully dry and to help the adhesive when I removed the tape. I still love looking at this page and remembering how much fun it was to make. All right, so those are the top 5 things I have learned from art journaling almost every day for the past year. As you begin or continue your art journaling journey, the best tip I can offer is to focus on the process over the result. So as you explore different art supplies and techniques, notice how they feel to you. Which ones are soothing and calming to you? Which ones cause stress? And probably most importantly, notice the supplies and techniques that are the most fun for you. As you do that, it might be helpful to check out some of the art supplies I regret buying in the last year. I have queued up that video next for you here and linked to it in the description under the heading Watch Next. I hope you enjoyed this video and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks for being here.